Hmm.
Hello, welcome to Give Me Credit. I am J.S. Waldo, and I am here with our credit guru, John Mackey. Hi, John. How are you today?
JS, I'm great. How about yourself?
I'm doing well, thank you.
You look
I'm really
you look a little bit rosy. Is that right?
yeah. I was just in the Caribbean, went through the Panama Canal, Central America, had some fun stops, skirted around the hurricane, and then landed in Fort Lauderdale. Now I'm back.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
That's
so
cool.
that was fun. That was fun. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. But I am excited about the series we're about to get into, everyone. I think is going to be very, very educational for everybody. We've talked a lot about different topics and your rights and tools that you have to protect yourself in your credit life and the importance of your credit life. We have talked about so many interesting things, and I think that we're at a point where we're going to do this series and you're going to get a lot of very detailed information. There's an entire different act to protect consumers, and it all comes around collection practices. So we're going to start that series today, John. I'm really excited because you are the expert on this. But what we're going to talk about is the Fair Debt Collection Practice Act, also called FDCPA. So,
Right.
John, I'm going to ask you just straight out front, what is the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act?
Well, it started in 1977. It's like you said, it's called the FTCPA, and it's a federal law. Each state can have their own, but with the one we're talking about right now is the federal, and it regulates what they call third-party collectors, third-party debts. It's not the original creditor that's coming after you. It's after they've sold it or assigned it to a debt collector.
Okay.
Um, what they try to do is eliminate the abusive, deceptive, and some unfair collection practices. It governs how, when, and what collectors can say and what they can do, and that you have the right to dispute and request
Mhm.
validation of that debt.
So it doesn't regulate the original creditor. I think that's an important point. It
Right.
only third-party debt collectors once it's sold to them. And you said 1977, so that's interesting
Right.
because I don't know about you, but we didn't text this. We didn't have, well, I mean, we might have voicemail, but we had those little machines or something. Um, we definitely weren't all living off of email and, on our phones all the time. So this was in 1977 prior to modern technology today.
Correct. It's prior to texting, prior to the videos, prior to social media, uh,
Mm-hmm.
prior to all of this. And it was started because of the advent of third-party debt collectors that
Mm-hmm.
started because banks didn't want to handle it. Kind of coincided with the proliferation of the credit cards. And credit card companies didn't want to go out there and collect on the debt itself.
Mm-hmm.
They would rather sell it. Now, I've got my own mindset on that, but again, it's not to go down rabbit holes because I'm trying to steer clear of that. Let's just stay within what the law says and what it is. Now, there was a
Yeah.
new regulation that came about just recently in 2021.
Oh,
And
okay, cool.
it's called Regulation F, as in Frank.
Mm-hmm.
In Regulation F was written by the CFPB, all these acronyms, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, um, because they wanted to bring the Fair Credit Reporting Act and the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act up to speed. In other words, debt collectors wanted to contact people via social media or texting you. Um, but they were anticipating that if they gave approval, that there was going to be a lot of abuse, and there was. So
Mm-hmm.
that's it. What that Regulation F did is it clarified how collectors communicate. in what's now called the digital age, text, email, social media.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, how many times can they call a day? How many times can they call a week? Disclosure rules. There are new disclosure rules, record keeping requirements that were placed on them. And it
Mm-hmm.
was basically, I don't want to call it a rewrite. It comes within the CFPB. So under the current administration, could that be rescinded? Possibly. I'm not trying to scare anybody, but that is a thought that could happen. But it is clarification of what the FDCPA had.
Okay, so I mean that's great. That's a wonderful. So they came in 2001 and they updated it, brought it to the digital age, exactly what we were just saying. But that
Right.
leads me to a question about it. Who enforces these rules, these laws? Who enforces this?
Yeah, I've written many articles about this one particular topic because who was initially was the Fair Trade Commission. And due to the banking debacle in 2005, 6, 7, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau was put into place. And they were funded by the Federal Reserve. Again, not to get into all the nuances, but they were to be the watchdog for the American public. So it transferred the power basically to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau.
Okay.
And currently, it is being diminished, the CFPB. That's what I've written
Yeah.
about.
Mm-hmm.
States attorney generals can also, you could report it there if there are issues, so they can enforce it based on the
Mm-hmm.
state laws that they have, depending upon what state you're from. Some are weak, some are very strong. Um, and then the consumer themselves, if they know the laws and know the rules, they can uh, create their own lawsuits and go against credit reporting agencies, or in this case, the debt collectors. So
Yeah,
it's
we've
basically,
we've talked about that before, John. I mean, that's kind of something you've been teaching us the entire way. Know your rights, stand up for yourself, speak up, and knowing these rules, you have given us an example in the past where you have even filed a lawsuit and won.
yes.
So consumers can protect themselves because unfortunately, I don't even know how many employees are left at the CFPB as of right this minute.
I don't either. I've heard it is about 40, when
Oh,
they used
wow.
to have into the hundreds or maybe even 1,000 people working there. Uh,
Yeah.
from the viewpoint of the consumer, it's very sad
Yes.
because, as you and I both know, we're seeing a proliferation of the fraud that's coming back into the market. If you don't have a police force, what good are the laws? Well, it's the same thing here.
Yeah. So let's dig into this a little bit further. Let me ask you about what are some of the basic rules the collectors must follow in this FDCPA? What are some of the basic, yeah, I guess rules, laws?
Yeah,
What are
yeah,
they?
it's rules.
Rules. Okay. So what
Right.
are the basic ones?
Well, the first one everybody thinks about is typically no calls before 8 a.m. or after 9 p.m. The question comes up then, okay, is that your time, my time, his time, their time, whose time? And the
Hmm.
answer to that is your time, your local time. So they could be collecting on the East
Okay.
Coast for the West Coast, or the West Coast for the East Coast, but it's got to be the local time. Now,
Okay. Good to know.
if you are represented by an attorney, they can no longer talk to you. But you have to let them know that you're represented by an attorney. They have to know that. Okay.
Okay.
Um, they can't contact you at work if you've told them not to.
Mm-hmm.
And with the proliferation of the cell phones and in media, A lot of times people now are they're trying to circumvent that law by calling them on your cell phone. Well, if you tell them no phone calls at work, they've got to stop that.
Okay,
Okay.
that's good to know. But I'm going to just point out, before you go on, you've just given us two incredibly great protections, rules they have to follow. But you as the consumer need to know these rules and pick up the phone and tell them, I have an attorney. Here's his name. Here's his number. Don't contact me again. Or I am at work. Do not call me when I'm at work.
Right.
To say those
Now, as a
words.
side note here, I'm at the very end of developing a course on debt collections to include Rule F. So we're going to go over the phone calls. We're going to go over transcripts. We're going to go over the rules. We're going to go over everything in depth.
Great.
Um,
Perfect.
and so I want people to be aware of that, because even if you're not writing the stuff down, that's fine. Partake of that course, because I don't know. The reason why I'm writing it is I haven't found a book or any information about this. There are some people that say they know what they're doing. I wouldn't trust them, in combination with how it relates to credit reporting also. Now, there are some FDCPA attorneys that we're trying to get on our podcast here in the near future, that's all they do is lawsuits,
Mhm.
it's credit reporting agencies and debt collectors. Um, the next one is they cannot harass, threat, or deceive you. And we can get into nuances of this. They can't call you names. They can't verbally abuse you. They can't threaten you. In other words, set up a court in this different area and pretend like they're a court, or pretend like they're from a credit bureau, which has been done. If it's been thought of, it's been done. Uh,
Mhm.
and the other thing is that they must identify themselves as debt collectors. Um, they can't just they can't play with you. It's almost the CFPB, through the Regulation F, have almost redefined the form letter that they have to send out to you if they're
Okay.
going to collect.
So once they contact you, they have to send you something in writing?
Yes. And again, that course will go over it, but
Mhm.
within 5 days, 5 calendar days of you getting a phone call from a debt collector, they have to send you what's called, in the legal parlance, as a done or a dunning letter. And that letter has to have specific things on it, um, and how much you're owed, who the original uh, uh, creditor was, if it was assigned, if it was sold debt, who owns the debt currently, the title work, so forth. Um, it's almost like the
Oh,
Miranda warning. In fact, in the book, or in the work I'm doing, we correlate it. We call it the Mackey uh, principle, and it's like the Miranda warning. And you've heard this before. Any information obtained will be used for that purpose. Well, they have to
mhm.
say the same thing. They have to identify themselves as debt collectors and state that any information obtained will be used for that purpose. Well, they've got to
Interesting.
warn you about it. Now, like I said, that written notice has to be sent out within 5 days.
Okay. Okay. And I think I've also heard it called a validation notice. So is
Yeah,
that
yeah, it
okay?
is. It is.
Okay.
But I'm talking about the legal parlance is called a done letter, dunning letter. But it
Yep.
is a
That makes sense.
validation notice. It's to let you
Cool.
know what your rights are.
Okay. So those are some rules for the collector, some of the key rules. It's not all of them. I mean, we get into so much detail, but what rights do consumers have under the FDCPA?
Okay, to go in conjunction with what I just said, by that 5 day letter that you have to receive, you've got the right to receive written validation of the debt. You have the right to dispute the debt within 30 days. So once you receive that letter, you've got 30 days. And I would use the date that you received as postmarked. Use that as 30 days in which to respond. They'll have a cutout in that letter, so you can say, I I challenge this information. Send me all the information. I personally like a handwritten letter um, that says something very general. Um, I I dispute any and all information in this validation letter, and I'm sorry, I want everything that you have regarding this debt sent to me for the purposes of validation.
Yeah.
This isn't mine. Now,
Okay.
at that point, they have to stop talking to you until they send that letter out. And you've got 30 days to send it out to them. Now they've got a right to respond to that and send you that information. If they do not, they cannot collect. They must send you that information. And you can be very specific about the information you're looking for. Not just the debt, but how do you know that they own that debt? How do you know that they were assigned that debt? You have to have that information.
Okay.
Now, if there are violations, you've got the right to sue, as I did.
Mhm.
And it's winnable. I've done it. I've proved it. I know. And through that course, I could teach you that. The basic
Yeah.
right here is you've got the right to be free from harassment.
Yeah.
Calls, false threats, and there's a ton of them. They can't humiliate you either. And then,
Well, that's important. Everybody needs to understand that. So again, the whole point of this is to educate you. And I want to go back to something you said real quick, John.
yeah,
This course that you're building and gonna be able to put it out there, I really love this idea. When do you think you're going to be finished creating this course?
certainly within a month. I
Okay.
expect earlier than Thanksgiving coming up here.
And then
So
you're gonna have this available on your Substack, correct?
that is right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I just wanted to make sure we talked about that because we have spent a lot of time, and we're not done. These are very important topics. We've spent a lot of time talking about people's rights, like you said. You don't expect them to be sitting out there writing, taking notes. The material will be available to you in basically masterclass format with even attachments, the letters that we talk about, just samples and detailed information so
right.
that you, the consumer, can stand up for yourself, understand your rights, utilize the system in place, and protect yourself. John, I think that you creating those classes is very, very crucial and very helpful. I'm looking forward to when those are published. Very much looking forward to that. So sorry, I'll get off of my little pedestal here. Actually, I put you on the
Well,
pedestal,
well,
but
thanks.
I just,
Thanks for that
I think
shameless
it's,
plug.
I really think it's important, and I love everything you're teaching us. So I'm going to go into one more question here.
Okay.
And then I think we're going to cut it off from there. So, but just one more question. I
Okay.
want to talk about staying in the same realm about consumer rights here. You said they have the right to be free from harassment,
Right.
meaning the calls and the false threats, or the humiliation tactics.
Right.
I want to hit on that for just a moment here.
Um,
Consumers are humans, and words hurt.
well, they do. Um, there's a lot of times what their goal is to get paid, period.
Mhm.
I talked with a debt collector the other day, and I asked him if they'd come on our show, and I said, They told me no. I said, why? I said, are you doing things illegally? And they said, well, we don't know if they're illegal or not, but we walk a thin gray line in order to get paid. And because debt collectors are typically paid on commission base,
Mhm.
and they will do almost anything to get paid because if you can't get the commission, you don't, meaning you don't, the client doesn't pay, um, you're not going to make your money.
Yeah.
And so they've learned to be aggressive. They'll call people names. One, I won't get into it because it's going to go down that rabbit hole. But I had one person that tried to get another person to go to Hawaii from Minnesota because allegedly they had a debt out in Hawaii. Well, uh, what a mess. That can't happen because they've got to sue you in the location that you're located in.
Right.
Okay. They've set up
So
they've set
go
up
ahead.
courthouses in fake courthouses in fake buildings and get them to come in, get people to come in for that. They'll call you all sorts of vile names. They'll invoke your race or maybe your surname in a derogatory fashion. They can't be sarcastic. Um, it can go on and on and on.
Hmm. Yeah, and the reason I wanted to hit on that is because the point is you have the right to not be treated in that manner. And that's one of the things that we've been trying to teach you from the very beginning of this podcast in months ago, which you have the rights, know your rights, stand up for yourself. So we're going to continue with this topic and our next podcast probably will be another couple because I want to take them in little blocks. And John and I had already talked about how important these rules are. And again, I'm going to ask you, please follow us. You can like this if whether you're watching on YouTube, on Substack, follow us, like us, subscribe. That keeps us going. That's really important for us
Yeah.
as mentors, as educators, to meet our purposes. We need you to follow along, ask us questions, involve us. We highly, highly, once again, am going to say, please, if you haven't pulled your credit report, go pull your credit report. And where do they pull that credit report, John?
From my website. No. The annualcreditreport.com.
Yes, exactly.
www.
Annual credit,
Yeah,
annualcreditreport.com.
annualcreditreport.com.
Exactly. Awesome. So again, John, thank you. I love this topic. Can't wait to continue on. There's so much more to cover here. But just really, really appreciate you, John. You're teaching us a lot and
Well, thank you.
very important information for all of us to, again, know our rights, stand up, and protect ourselves.
It is so important these days, especially with um, the canceling of the CFPB. We're
Yeah,
going to have to learn to stand on our own and figure this out ourselves and defend
exactly.
ourselves.
Exactly. And thanks to you, we are learning. So until next time, everybody, thank you for listening. Again, follow us on Substack. You can find John Mackey. You have me, either of us, ask us questions. Let us know what you need. We will be back again next week, and we're going to continue on this topic. So if you have any questions in the meantime, we will go over those
We will.
before we even move forward.
Sounds good.
So John, have a great day.
Thank you. See you guys.
You all have, yep, see you guys. Have a great day.